Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Pete versus Anxiety, the mental health podcast, breaking the stigma that mental health is discussed about. Um, Before we get started, I want to read a couple things off to you really quick. 12 surgeries in 6 years, lost my stomach, large colon, 3 feet of my small colon, coded twice, two 16-centimeter fibroids, 16 rounds of chemo. That's right, you're right, 16 rounds of chemo, body dysmorphia, severe depression, and hysterectomy. And you're all wondering, am I reading a baseball card? No, I'm reading the stats of my friend over here, Brandi Luke. Brandi, why don't you say hi to everybody?
Hi, everyone. Nice to
Hi,
meet you.
Brandi, I'm welcome to coming in. I really appreciate you being here. A lot of people don't understand that when we fill out these sheets that you sent me, when you sent me yours, I started reading those and my jaw hit the floor. Like I was like, damn. That's all I could say. And it was amazing that you were able to come on here and share your story today with everyone. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit more about yourself?
I am a wife of 19 years to a wonderful husband. I have 5 children. One is in heaven. She passed away when she was 11.
R.I.P.
She was severely disabled. So it's been 14 years, and I still get kind of choked up when I talk about her. And that's kind of what started my medical downfall. I grieved her so badly that it started to affect my body physically. And it got to the point to where I would eat, and for 3 or 4 days, I wouldn't be able to eat anything at all. Everything would just kind of sit. Like if you've ever eaten too much and you take that last bite and you're like, oh, I knew I shouldn't have taken that last bite. 1 or 2 bites like that for me, and I just felt miserable. But I would be so hungry that I would just keep eating, and the food would pile on top of the other food that I had eaten. And on about day 4, I would just have a purging cycle, and I would be in so much pain. My stomach would be swollen. I've been asked, how far along are you? Are you due any day now? Are you having twins? And I'm like, unless it's food, no, it ain't twins, and I'm not due.
Wait,
And
somebody asked you how far pregnant you were because you were eating food?
no, because I was so swollen and distended.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, I would just swell up so much that my stomach would feel like it couldn't possibly swell anymore. And I would be at the grocery store or Walmart or wherever, and I would have my other kids with me, and they would be like, "Oh, more kids? You're adding to the family?" And I'm like, no. And then when are you due? And I'm like, I'm not. I just finally got to the point to where about 2 more days, and it should all come out, just because I knew that I was going to purge and it was going to have to come out. There was no choice. Then I would become so hungry because what was happening is the food was getting trapped in my stomach, and my stomach was paralyzed. And the medical term for it is gastroparesis, which means paralysis of the stomach and gastritis. And we tried medication, we tried liquid diets, we tried soft food diets. We even considered a pacemaker in my stomach to make my stomach work, but it wouldn't. It wasn't. It was a 50-50 chance. Was that going to work? So we chose not to do that. Finally, we decided, okay, if the stomach is diseased, let's take the stomach out. Now, I'm barely eating anything, 2 or 3 bites for about 4 days. And then as soon as that 4 days hits and everything's gone, I'm just gorging. Anything I can get in my mouth, I'm eating it. I don't care what it is, even if it's cold chicken out of the refrigerator. I am just starved. And then we go through the 4 day period of it's stuck, it's not coming out, blah, blah. So we decided to do a gastric bypass. And at this time, during gastroparesis, you can go one of 2 ways. You either can't eat and don't eat, and you lose weight, or your body goes into starvation mode, and everything that you do eat, your body says, we have to hold on to this. We can't let this go. We have to use it for fuel, for energy. And it stores it away, and you become bigger and bigger. And I became 199 pounds. So the day I went in for the gastric bypass, I was 199, and he did the gastric bypass, 4-hour surgery. Everything went great. Got up walking. Before I even made it to the bed in my room, I was like, I need to get up and walk. And so they let me off the bed and I walked around for a little bit. Everything was going well. So the doctor sent me home the next day. Well, day 3, I'm like, something's not right. Something's going on here. And I called my doctor and he said, well, are you eating your portions and drinking your portions? And at that time I was only on a liquid diet. So I'm like, eating my portions. I'm not eating anything. I had a little cough medicine cup, and I could drink that much water every 30 minutes all day long. That's all I could drink. And I had to put protein in it to give me the protein I needed. But I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm doing my little cup every 30 minutes, but even it started not to stay down. So day 4, I call him back and I'm like, no, something's not right. So I go to the ER, he meets me there, and we find out that I have a bowel obstruction. My small colon had a bowel obstruction in it. So they took me in for emergency surgery. And I was like, I'll be back. Tell my husband, I'll be back in about 2 hours or so, probably. 5 or 6 hours later, I come back. And the doctor tells me tells my husband, because I'm still out of it, that I coded on the operating table, but they were able to get me back. So they get me settled in my bed. And this is like 11 o'clock at night. And I went into the surgery. They took me back at 7:45 to start the surgery and wheeled me back to my room at 11 or just after. The nurse came in, got me all settled. She told me that she would be back in around 5 a.m. to do my blood pressure and check on me and everything and make sure I was okay and do the vitals. And I was like, okay, so just for now, sleep. And I was like, all right, I'll sleep. And so I dozed off to sleep. And I remember I woke up and my nurse is standing at the bottom of my bed. And she said, Miss Luke, are you okay? And I was like, just kind of staring at her. And I knew something wasn't right again. Something didn't feel right. And I tapped my chest 3 times like this. And that's the last thing I remember doing physically. And then I was just like, I knew I wasn't in my body, but I knew I wasn't in heaven, because from all the stories you hear when you go to heaven,
Yeah.
Jesus is there to meet you and family's there to meet you. And there was nothing like that. I was just in this white pulsating room of light. It was like it was breathing in and out. And I felt zero pain for the first time in so many years. I can't remember, like 12 years, honestly. I didn't feel hungry. I didn't feel thirsty. I just felt so peaceful. It felt like, you get up in the middle of winter and it's cold and there's snow on the ground. And you plug that electric blanket up and you get up under it and you get all snuggly and that heat just seeps into your body and warms you. That's the way I felt. And then I heard like this voice and it said, not like out loud like we're talking, but I could like hear it in my spirit, I guess. And it said, I've got you for now, but it's not your time to stay. You have to go back. I just don't want your body to experience the pain that it's going through right now. And I just stayed there what felt like years and years. And then the next thing I remember is waking up the next morning and my husband is sitting beside me on the cot and he's got his chin propped up like this. And he's looking over at me and he's smiling, and I smiled at him and he said, good morning. And I said, good morning. And I said, oh, my chest hurts. Oh, my ribs hurt. What did they do to me? He said, well, last night the nurse came in unscheduled. She said that she walked to another patient's room, had called her, and she was walking away from his room. And when she got to your door, something said, go in and check on her now. So she comes into my room and she checks on me. And he said, you looked at her, but you didn't say anything. And then you tapped your chest a few times and then you were he said she called a code. And I could remember hearing when I was in that, I call it a cocoon of safety. I don't know where it was. It wasn't heaven. But I can remember hearing everything going on around me, like push so many of epi and everybody clear and charge and Miss Luke. I could hear every bit of this going on around me. I didn't feel any of it. And I looked over at my husband and I started crying. And he said, what are you crying for? And I said, because I don't want to be here. I want to be back where I was. He said, what are you talking about? You would rather leave your family? And I said, Brian, if you had experienced the peace that I felt in that moment, you wouldn't want to come back either. You would want to stay. And he said, okay, I don't quite understand what you're talking about. I said, I was with Jesus. I know I was. I didn't see him. I just felt like he was holding me and I was in his arms and he was taking care of me. And so they keep me in the hospital for 8 days. I had to have a blood transfusion. My blood pressure plummeted. 80 over 40, and I'm still having a conversation with people. And they're like, you should be leaving this world right now. And I'm still talking to them. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm just sore and I'm hurting. And so they kept me for 8 days. My heart was damaged. My my left lung had collapsed, which I guess is why I was hitting my chest. I became septic because of the gastric, everything that was going on, and then the bowel obstruction. It actually caused me to go septic. So I got very sick, and it not only caused me to go septic, damaged my heart, but it gave me kidney trauma. And I worked at Fresenius as a technician there, where I cleaned people's blood that had to be on dialysis. And so when they came in and told me what my creatinine was, I was like, that's not good. And then they brought in a urologist, and they brought in a nephrologist, and they brought in all these different doctors and the cardiologist. And when the kidney specialist came in to talk to me, I was like, look, I work in dialysis. Talk to me like I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. If you already understand it, even better, though. That you're not like an average person. They don't have to use all the big words with you because you already know what they mean.
Yeah. And I knew how serious it was. Like I was on the verge of stage 4 kidney failure at that time. They had just completely stopped reacting. And he said, we can do one of two things. We can flood your body with fluid and try to kickstart your kidneys, or we can go ahead and start dialysis. And I said, I'm not doing dialysis because I know what's involved in dialysis. And it's a rough life. And those needles are the size of a ballpoint pen that they would stick in my arm. And I was like, no. So I said, let's just flood me with fluid and see how that works. So that was another reason they kept me in there for so long. They kept an IV bag wide open, continually pouring for 5 days, 24 hours a day. When I went in to have the surgery, I was 199 pounds. When I left the hospital, because my kidneys had started reacting a little bit, and they were like, okay, if anything changes, you know what to do. You know when to call us. We'll go ahead and let you go home. I left that hospital weighing 220 pounds.
Damn.
Just having a gastric bypass, bowel obstruction surgery, and kidney trauma, and my heart being damaged, and having a collapsed lung. So I'm trying to recover from all of those surgeries that happened, and that trauma that happened. And then I'm still in my abdomen. It just hurts like a month later. And I go back to my bariatric surgeon and I say, look, I'm still hurting a lot and I shouldn't be hurting like this right now. And so he sends me for a PET scan and a CAT scan. CAT scan comes back. I have a 21 centimeter fibroid.
Now, what is a fibroid, if I may ask you really quick? Because I read that and I wasn't too sure what that was.
So basically it's connective tissue that when you have surgery or anything, it's like scar tissue inside of your body that goes over where they operated on you to kind of heal it. And instead of it going to the place where it heals it, mine was like wrapping around all my organs.
Ooh, ouch.
So wrapped around my uterus, my ovaries. It was glued to my pelvic floor. Just went crazy because they took my stomach out and then they had to do the bowel obstruction surgery. And evidently I'm a good candidate for fibroids because I've had several that I've had to have surgery on. That's some of the 12 surgeries. So he sends me to go see an OBGYN because of where it's at. It's wrapped around my uterus and my ovaries and glued to my pelvic floor. And this is May. I had the bariatric surgery June, I started having the pain and was like, something's not right. By July, I'm back on a hospital table having a complete hysterectomy to remove everything and get all the fibroids taken out. So that's like May, June, July. So 3 months, 3 major surgeries.
Yeah.
Then, and she decides to take my uterus from my belly button instead of cutting me from hip to hip or cutting me from top to bottom. She decides that it's a good idea to take it from my my belly button. So my belly button got infected. And I go back to her and I'm like, look, it's leaking. It's gross. I need some medicine for it. And she said, oh, there's a pocket in there of infection. I can just pop it and everything will be fine. Well, I'm thinking she's going to take a syringe and a little needle and she's going to drain it. No, this crazy lady just takes my belly button and squeezes a living tarnish out of it. I come up off the table swinging. I'm ready to deck her. So my daughter's like, Mom, are you all right? Are you all right? And I said, obviously I'm not all right. I'm screaming at the doctor. So she does that and it doesn't get better. It's still, to this day, it's not better. It still weeps. It still leaks. I still have to put medication on it. Still, after that surgery, I got a hernia from the left side of my abdomen all the way to the right side of my abdomen and all the way down to my pelvic bone. So I go back to my bariatric surgeon and tell him something's not right. I'm still hurting. So he sends me for another CAT scan and he finds out that, and he also tells me to like lean up on the table from a laying position. And so I lean up on the table and he's like, I think you have a hernia. He said, I can take care of that, but I want to see how big it is. So he does a CAT scan and the CAT scan doesn't show at all. So he's going to robotically go in, right, and put like 6 little probes in me and he's going to fix the damage and sew it up and yada, yada, and I'll be done. No, it didn't work like that. When I came out of that surgery 11 hours later, I was cut from under my breastbone all the way down to my pelvic bone.
Jesus.
I had to go around my belly button. So it looks like a big scar like this on my, which way do I need it? Like this on my stomach. It goes from the top of my breastbone down and then around my belly button. I don't know.
Ouch. That just sounds painful.
Oh my God. That was the worst. I think out of all the surgeries that I had up to that point, that one was the worst. It was so bad that they sent me home on a pill bottle of Dilaudid every 4 hours.
Damn.
And then I start seeing, like, I thought there were birds flying in the house. I didn't know if people that I was having a conversation with were real.
Like, I bet you were seeing the stars, the clouds, the trees, everything else with that. Jeez.
Everything looked beautiful. It was just shiny bright. And I told him, I said, I can't take this medicine. It's making me crazy. Like, my grandmother came to check on me, and I didn't believe she was really there. I thought she was a ghost or something. And so, but that's at this point, because of all the surgeries that I've had, I am allergic. I've built up an allergy to anything with codeine in it. Tramadol does nothing for me. Regular Tylenol obviously does nothing for me. The only medication they can give me for pain is morphine, but they have to give me IV Benadryl before that or Dilaudid. And they choose to do the Dilaudid because they don't want to give me anything they know that could make me have a reaction. And we know morphine does. So I had that surgery.
That's crazy.
Oh, God. I think that one took me like 3 months to recover from. Well, and because I'd had the gastric bypass, the bowel obstruction, the hysterectomy through my belly button, and then now I've had the hernia surgery. And this is all within a 5-month period. Just back to back to back to back surgery.
Jesus, that's insane.
Yeah.
Back to back to back, 5 months.
5 months.
Wow.
So I have a little reprieve to where I'm healing, but I still kept telling my bariatric doctor, I said, I cannot eat. I can't eat. I'm still getting nauseous. I'm not swelling anymore. And I was losing crazy weight, obviously, because I have a stomach pouch about the size of a quail egg, a really small quail egg, and it goes straight into my small intestine. So I told him, I said, there's something isn't right in here. I'm not able to eat, because by this time I had moved up to eating whatever I wanted to eat, within reason, because obviously they keep you on a bariatric diet, which I've never had to stay on the bariatric diet because I've lost before I've gained. Like, they made me gain weight when they put me on total peritoneal nutrition because I lost down to 89 pounds.
Well, yeah, I could see that. If you're at 89 pounds, you definitely got to put on some weight then. That's not a healthy weight.
Yeah, I called my GI doctor and I was like, are you just going to let me die, or are you going to do something to help me? Like, come on, bro. I'm 89 pounds, soaking wet. So they got me up to 130 pounds, and I was able to start eating more and keeping it down and letting it stay for longer. So I eventually was weaned off of the TPN. And although I have lost 15 pounds of that, I'm still well within my BMI, and my labs are perfect. So they're not going to put me back on TPN as far as right now. That may change if I start losing more weight. I don't know.
Let me ask you a quick question really fast, not to cut you off though. But what was your mental state like? I mean, 5 months, all them surgeries, there's no way you couldn't feel this like you just had no will to live at that point, because you're like, what else could be going wrong at this point,
I had no will to live. I did not want to be here. I begged God, please just take me home. I'm tired of this. I'm sick all the time. I'm no good to my family. I'm more of a burden on them than anything. My husband had to, I'm sorry. My husband had to take over working 12-hour shifts and come home and take care of the 2 kids that were still home. And I just lay on the couch all day popping pain pills, because even if I get up to go to the bathroom, it hurts.
I believe it.
So I felt a burden. I felt like I was just worthless. And then having my kids have to watch me go through this. One of them had already, like I said in the beginning, one of my children passed away. My daughter at the time, when my 11-year-old passed away, my other daughter was 6 years old, and she had trauma from that. And to sit here and watch her mother basically dying like every day, that wreaked so much havoc on her mentally.
Oh, it had to. There's no way it didn't. That poor little girl's watching first losing the brother, and then seeing mom just kind of fade away. Wow. That poor girl, I don't even know what her idea would have been at that point. She's probably still trying to understand a lot of it too, even at 6. Yes. She may not have fully understood, but she had the feeling that, you were not in a good way, basically.
No, I wasn't. And she knew it, and she was scared, and she wanted to move out of the house. She said, Mommy, I can't watch you die. I can't. So she wanted to go. So we have a few months reprieve, and we get through Thanksgiving, which I'm not able to go to because I'm not well. And we get through Christmas, where most of our kids are grown now. We have a 13-year-old left at home. All the girls are grown and out on their own. But at the time, we had Christmas at the house, and I just kind of had to sit there, because normally I'm the one that I'm like handing out the presents, and we're playing Christmas music, and I always make the homemade gingerbread man and the trees and the candy cane. They decorate
the houses and all that cool stuff. Yeah, that was the best part of Christmas for me, man. All the sweets that were there.
Yep. And they're all like singing and dancing and having a good time. And we didn't get to do it that year, so it was kind of a somber Christmas. Everybody was tiptoeing around me, and I knew it. And so, wrestling was not wanting to be here. At one point, I had picked out the space, and I knew that I wouldn't have my kids with me, and I would just let go and let whatever happen. And so I had to call the doctor, and I said, you know what, I need an antidepressant immediately, because I am thinking really bad thoughts. And I wouldn't admit, because I didn't want to be admitted, I wouldn't admit that I had, made plans, but I was like, I'm just having these thoughts that I don't need to be having, and I just need on some medication to help me get over this.
Well, given everything you're dealing with at that time, like, wow, just the fact that you've made it to this point, like, damn. And there's still more to tell in this whole story too. That, it's wow. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Like, wow. I don't even know I'm rendered speechless over here at times listening to this because I'm like, man, how much worse can this thing get? And I have the other stuff, listed over here. I can see off the screen a little bit, but it's just like, wow. This just keeps more interesting by the minute, and just the fact that you were going through so much at once, it was crazy. Like, that's insane.
It was too much. And I told God that. I was like, this is too much for one person to go through. It's too much. Way too much. And then we find out that something's wrong with my large colon. And they take me into the hospital, and I have to swallow this pill that has markers in it, 21 markers. And they do x-rays over 5 days. And on the 5th day, all or most of the markers are supposed to be evacuated from your system. On day 5, when they take me back in to do the last x-ray, I have 19 out of 25 markers sitting at the top part of my large colon. And so my doctor said, it's dead. It's not doing its job. It's not working. And this is why you're feeling so sick all the time. And the only thing we can do is take it out. And if we take it out, there's a 50-50 chance that you'll have to wear a colostomy bag for the rest of your life, which I don't. Thank God.
Yeah.
That was a reprieve right there. She was able to do something called a J pouch, which basically she did an anastomosis to my small colon, sewed it together as anastomosis, and made a pouch so that I could go to the bathroom normally. But she nicked my kidneys while she was in there doing the surgery. So I had to stay in the hospital for a couple of days because she had to make sure that I didn't go septic from that. And I'm 2 hours away from these hospitals that I'm going to. It's not like get in the car and drive 5 minutes. Like,
wait. You're 2 hours away?
2 hours away. I'm going to Atlanta, Georgia to get these surgeries done.
Jesus.
Yeah. So I'm going to the best. Like, nobody, I'm this bad. Not just anybody's going to touch me. I need to see your credentials. I need to know how many surgeries you've done. I need the whole details.
Right. I need a whole biography here, guys. And I don't blame you, though. At this point, we're at 5 months. All this has happened. Now you have this on top of that, and you're 2 hours away from anything. Oh no, this is crazy.
Yeah. Try having a bowel obstruction and being 2 hours away from the hospital and constantly upchucking the whole time that you're trying to go. And just imagine the smell in the truck. Like,
yeah. Well, your husband was a trooper, I got to say. Like, God bless him especially, man, because that man had been going through a lot on top of everything else and having to come over home and support you as well. And, that's a real man right there. Like, he didn't give up on you. He kept with you the whole time. He kept supporting you the whole time. That man there is a trooper. He needs a Medal of Honor just for that alone.
Yeah, he really does. He's amazing. Absolutely amazing. He told me I didn't have a choice to die. It was not my choice to die. His decision was that I was going to live because he couldn't raise these crazy kids on his own. And he needed my help. So he's like, you're going to fight. I don't care what it takes. You're going to fight. And he would push me on the days that I would just be like, God, take me home.
Exactly. That's what he should do. He should be there to back you up on those days where you're at your darkest times. That's the whole point of being the husband. You need to step in when you're down. He needs to be there to support you, which that's what he did. He was a crutch when you needed him. And that's amazing.
That is amazing. He tickled me one time. He said, I was sitting there praying. And we'll get to the chemo in a minute, but
definitely go ahead.
But I was sitting there and I had just had my 3rd round of chemo, and it was the worst. Like, I was so sick, I couldn't even hold my head up by myself. Like, he had to lay me back in the chair, and my head kind of fell over like this, and he's like, lay your head back. I said, I honestly don't have the energy to move my head anywhere. And so he pulls my head and lays it back for me, and I started crying. And I said, this is no way for you to have to live. You're still, young. We're in our late 40s. Just let me go and go be happy. And he's like, no. And I said, God, just please have mercy on him and take me. And he says, God, you better not, because if you do, you and I are going to have words.
He's like, God, we're going to fight today. I hope you know, okay? I'm ready to go.
We beefing. Send the angel because I'll fight him. And then you're going to have to bless me afterwards because she ain't going nowhere.
Exactly. Well, that's a real one. I really, like I said, that's amazing to hear that he was that supportive, even though this whole thing, all this stuff going on, and it just continued too, even further. But for him to just stay there by your side the whole time, that's a real man right there. Let me tell you, it was hard for him, I'm sure, at times, but he kept his faith strong for you and everything else. And oh man, damn.
He's still, I mean, just like yesterday, he came in and he looked at me and he said, "You don't feel good, do you?" And I was like, "No." And he said, "Don't worry about supper. I'll pick something up." That's the kind
Yeah.
of person he is. So he's
Well, that's good.
great.
See, that's good. He could read your body language and know that something's wrong and things like that too. That's an amazing connection that a lot of people get. You know, when you get married and then you just understand the other person. They're your yin to your yang, basically, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But okay, so we're at round 3 of chemo out of 16 total, right? God, I don't even know. At this point, it's got to be rough, you know, because you don't know you're gonna have 16. You're gonna have another 13 after this point, and you're
Yeah, well,
saying this one was.
yeah, we're at round 3 of chemo and I've got like 13 more to go. And
Jesus.
I'm thinking, how in God's name am I going to get through this? And then they took me back for another surgery because I'm a hard stick and I was losing weight. So they put a portacatheter in my chest connected to my heart on the right. And they hooked me up with home health care so that they could come out once a week and take my labs and everything. And this needle is like a hook. Like it's not a straight needle that just goes in. It hooks in. So when you put it in, you go down with it.
I already don't like needles. The fact that it's a hook as well. Oh, I'm feeling that one.
And I mean, I have tattoos, and I'm like, I looked at that needle, and I was like, nope, no. I need something to numb everything that you're going to be touching. Eventually, I got to the point to where I could actually stick myself. And so the nurse would come out once a week to draw my labs, but I would go ahead and stick myself because they put me on the TPN to make me gain weight 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. So imagine being asleep in your bed at night and you wake up and you've got to go to the bathroom and it's dark in your room. You're easing out of your bed because you don't want to wake your spouse because on weekends he's home. During the week he's third shift. And so I'm like trying to ease out of the bed and go to the bathroom, and all of a sudden, wow, I just get dragged back into the bed. Oh crap, I forgot. I'm connected to an IV pole with a line going to my heart. Thank God I didn't rip it out or I'd have to stick myself again.
Oh,
After
that just sounds painful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Painful. I mean, it's like if you've ever like had a cut or anything and the nerve starts growing back. That's what it feels like. And if you don't put the Emla cream or the cold spray on before they stick you, it's basically like getting stuck in the chest by a wasp or a yellow jacket. I think a yellow jacket sting is worse than a wasp. So I would go with a yellow jacket.
I do too.
And so, I mean, it's a tender spot. It's right on under the skin. So you wouldn't think it would hurt so much, but think 19 gauge needle going through a thin piece of skin and into this port. Yeah, it hurt.
Oh, God, I'm feeling it already.
Oh, I was like, I'd have to psych myself up, like, do some jumping jacks, drink a espresso, a black eye, 2 espressos, black coffee. All right, let's do this thing. Let's get it. All right, we're going. And then she'd stick me and I'd be like, oh, that hurts so bad. And I'd start crying like a little wimp. So they finally started giving me medication to put on it that would numb it so that I wouldn't feel it anymore. And then she eventually, because I had previous experience as a phlebotomist and also as a dialysis technician, I knew how to stick and I knew how to do IVs and all that. So I was like, just teach me. That way you don't have to come out here once a week to hook me up. And then the 4 days later to draw labs, you can just come out here seriously once a week, draw the labs, and be done and go about your day. And she was like, you sure you want to learn? And I was like, I mean, I've watched you do it. I could probably do it on my own. She said, well, then go for it, big girl. So I took the needle and I put the medicine, the cold spray on there until it got numb. And I just went pop and it went right in. And she pulled black blood and she's like, you're certified. So I started sticking myself. And it's funny, my cousin is an RN and he works at City of Hope where I went for my chemo. And that's what he does. That's his main job is to do the ports there. And I walked in and he's like, oh, here's your supplies. If you need me, call me. He wouldn't even stick because he knew I could stick
That's
myself.
awesome.
And he told all the nurses, he said, this is my cousin. And she sticks herself. Just make sure the room's set up for when she gets here. So I would go and I would stick myself, which was probably not legal, but I mean, I would rather stick myself and know that I'm getting it in there right than I would for a total stranger to come up and start messing with it. Because once a new nurse came in after I had the port put in, and she stuck, like, the port's about the size of a nickel, and she missed the port completely and just stuck me through my skin beside the port. And then I was like, all right, so you don't stick me anymore. You can just come and draw laps. I'll stick myself from now on. She's like, I'm so sorry. I was like, no sweat. Everybody has to learn, but you just don't stick me anymore. You can just pull my laps, because I'm not authorized to pull my laps, or I could take them and pull them. And then another nurse came in and had to stick me 13 times before she finally got it. And I was like, okay, you don't stick me anymore. So
Wait. 13 times? Yep.
13
No.
times.
After 2, I'd be like, you got to go. Sorry, go find somebody else, because I'm not a big fan of needles. And after 2, I'd be like, yep, this is already done with this experiment.
Well, we couldn't figure out, because it would push the saline, but it wouldn't flow back and give us a flash. What we call a flash is blood supply. It wouldn't give us blood, but it would flush just fine. And it wasn't occluded, so it wasn't like swelling up painful when they miss a vein. So we couldn't figure out what was going on with it. And then the next week, my lovely American bully, 120 pounds, decides to come romping through the house and jump up on me. And he got me right here and scratched down and
Ooh.
ripped the needle out.
Ooh.
It became infected.
Mm.
Yeah, you talk about hurting.
Oh, God, I felt that.
Oh, yeah. I'd rather have somebody do 10 tattoos on me at one time than ever have that happen again. So it got so infected that they had to remove it, and they had to put one on my left side now. And so far I've had it for 2 years and it's doing good. But I've been the one sticking it. But we go for the third chemo treatment. I've already lost my hair. And I decided, when I found out that I had cancer, that I could take this 2 ways. I could be really super depressed about it and be in a bad way and feel bad about myself. Or I could just throw a party and be like, I'm kicking devil in the face. Like, go kick rocks with open-toed shoes, basically, is what I was telling the devil. Like, you're not getting me down. And so I threw a Bald is the New Beautiful party. My family and friends came over. By this time, my hair was already falling out. Like, I had, like, patches. And I've always had blonde hair. So for my hair to be this dark coming back after chemo, it's like, who is this person in the mirror? Who am I looking at? And so I invited anyone that wanted to come over to have a party. We were going to drink champagne and whatever wine that anyone brought and whatever else they wanted. We were having karaoke. We were having good food. And then we were going to shave my head. Well, people brought me gifts. I didn't ask for gifts. I just asked for a party to just come over and celebrate the fact that I'm going to beat this. I'm already going to beat this. I'm telling myself this. But I got like 15 wigs out of that party. So we all had fun trying on the wigs and walking around. And what I look like is
that sounds like a good time. Listen, I would have showed off some wigs too. I got a bald head for this. I could have done it. Listen, I would have runway modeled that.
We put one on my husband's, and I still have the picture. It's a hat with the wig hair sewn into the sides and the back so that you can't tell. And we put it on him, and it was like, oh my God, you're a brandi in a man's body. And everybody was telling me, oh, you rock the bald-headed look. You got the face for it. Now they're telling me, you rock the pixie cut. You got the face for it. And I'm like, I'm 47 years old and I look like an old woman. Do not tell me I rock this look. No. It is what it is right now. And sometimes I wear wigs out. Sometimes I won't. But today I want it to be the authentic me. And this is 9 months of regrowth since stopping chemo. I stopped shaving my head about 4 months into it because I noticed that the hair was growing back. And I was thinking, well, if it's growing back, let's see if it grows back good. And if it does, then I won't mess with it anymore. And it started really growing back good, even on chemo. So I stopped shaving even when I was on chemo and just let my hair grow back. And this is what it's This is 9 months of hair
It was
regrowth.
good though for 9 months. I mean, at least it
Thank
grows back because I know some people's situation it doesn't really grow back. I know my aunt's hers came back though, and she's happy too. Hers came back and everything else like that. So I mean, that's amazing though. I mean, that it's just insane. Like that. What you were telling me is that you're only on round 3 of this whole thing, and there's still way more to come. And it was just like, wow,
Yeah.
wow. And I don't know if you can see here on the bottom of the screen. I do have a friend of the show, Sean. He's in the comments here. He had said a couple kind words for you so far. He said that she deserves all the peace in the world. God bless her. And he
Thank you.
also said, let me read what else he said up here. I got it back up here a little bit to see, but there was another comment I had put up here as well. What else did you say, Sean? We were talking about basically you describing your situations like Murphy's Law. Anything can happen will happen, because it was just like you just kept listing things off, and I'm just like crazy. He also had some other kind words to say. I'm trying to find them right now. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to figure this out here.
No problem. I
I
appreciate
did post them though earlier. They were showing live earlier. So if somebody were to watch this video, they'll see what he had said. He says that she deserves all the peace in the world. God bless her.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's been a tough battle, but even though I begged God to take me home, I guess He knew my heart and that I really didn't want to go home.
And you didn't want to fight your husband either.
No, I don't want to fight him because he's a big old guy. Like, he's bald headed. He's got the goatee going on. He's got I call them python arms, huge arms. He's worked in construction, built houses. Now he's a maintenance man at a local mill, so he doesn't really have to work hard unless the machine breaks down. But he's never worked out a day in his life, and his arms are like massive. Like,
well, that's awesome.
Arms around him, it's like.
Well, he was prepping in the vaccine. He was secretly doing training, like one of those Rocky cutscenes. He had Eye of the Tiger playing. He's in the background just lifting cement blocks and things. He's preparing. He said, "God, I'm ready to fight. I hope you know this is a serious thing. We're about to go at it. You take her. You're gonna have to take me next with her."
That's right. That's right. As a matter of fact, I said something this morning to him about, I forget what the conversation was, and he said, I'll be dead by then. And I said, the deal you made with God was she goes, I go, you go. We go together. Leave them kids. Who cares? They grown.
It's like they're grown kids. They can handle themselves. Don't be making excuses now.
Exactly. Man, chemo, even after all the surgeries, and I mean, I could just go on and on with the surgeries. I'd have to pull up my list, but 12 surgeries and
you got to pull up your baseball card with all your stats on it. Basically, it's what they read out to be.
I basically have a book because for some reason, once I started having all these surgeries, I also started having seizures.
Oh, no.
The other day, I remember getting ready to go to bed. I was fussing with my pillow. Distinctly remember it was supposed to be that Forever pillow or whatever that they sell online, and you get 2 for the price of 1 kind of deal. So I got my grandmother and myself one. Yeah, they don't work all the time. It's about 6 months now, and it's got this permanent hole in the bottom where my head is, and I'm having to shake it constantly and get it to feel right. And so I remember saying, okay, that's good. And I snuggled up in the covers. And next thing, go ahead.
No, you're good. Sorry, I'm doing something over here. I'm responding to some people. There's a live chat feed that goes on here, and I'm responding to people as we go here.
Gotcha.
Someone else is live streaming. Sean, the same person that made that very kind words for you, he's streaming it live on his Xbox. Because I'm live on TikTok right now, so people can see the back scenes of everything, so they can't hear you. So he was making sure everybody could hear you.
Okay.
So he was kind enough to go ahead and stream it for you. Or he's doing all YouTubes and all that other stuff too. So he's putting it where everyone can see it too. So
thank you. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. But I remember I was fighting with the pillow, and I was like giving it hell. I was so mad at that dang pillow. And I finally got it to where I needed it to be. And I was like, okay, this is good. Last thing I remember. The next thing I know, I'm sitting, and the way my house goes is my bedroom, living room, kitchen, hallway, bathroom to the right, and then my son's room is past that. I'm sitting in between my bathroom and my kitchen in the hallway opening. And when I come to, I'm sitting on the floor, and I look down, and there's just like red everywhere. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? And then all of a sudden I said, oh my God. And when I said, oh my God, my whole entire jaw just hurt. And I thought, oh great, I've had another seizure, and I've fallen out but why am I in the hallway? Like, what would cause me to come to the hallway? And now I have like this little scar thing going on here, and inside
Mm,
this my lip right here. It looks juicy right now, but it's not juicy because it's juicy. It's juicy because it's swollen.
mm.
But I remember trying to stand up to make it to the bathroom, and I started blacking out, and so I slid back down real quick. And a third time, I tried to stand up and go to the bathroom, and I started blacking out again. So I got on all fours, and I just kind of like laid my head down on the cool ceramic tile, and I thought maybe that'll like jolt me out of it and bring me to. So I finally got awake enough that I could get to the bathroom to start treating my chin and my lip because both places were bleeding. And so it's like it's crazy because I don't have any inclination of when it's going to happen. I could be, matter of fact, I was at the dentist the other day, and I had a seizure, and they were wanting to call 911, and I'm like, no, don't call. And I told them beforehand, my husband's sitting out in the parking lot, don't call 911. They're not going to do anything for me. They never do except send me a big bill, and I'm not willing to pay them to just look at me for 3 hours and send me home. So chemo took my hair. So we had the Bald is the New Beautiful party. Everyone that wanted a lock got a lock of my hair. And then at the end, as it was, everybody had gotten the hair that they wanted. My husband shaved my head for me. And so that was a special moment between he and I, that he could do that for me. He could get, because I had like just patches of baldness all over my head. And so he very gently, very lovingly, he played a song called I Didn't Fall in Love with Your Hair for me while he was shaving my head, basically. And he was like, I
That's
didn't fall in
awesome.
love with your hair. I didn't fall in love with your face. I fell in love with your spirit, your soul, and your grace. So I was like, well, good thing, because, my hair was beautiful, long, curly, blonde. Just, I loved my hair. I took great care of my hair, but the him doing that meant more to me than if I had gone to a salon and said, all right, let's cut it, let's get rid of it. And
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get that completely.
my family showing up and being here for me, and then us singing karaoke, drunk karaoke at that was a blast. We had a good time. I remember we played one song, and I can't remember the name of the song right now, but they were like, we're going to kick it back to the 80s, because I'm a 70s baby raised in the 80s, because it was 77 when I was born. And they played a song, and I like shook all the way to the ground and then come back up, and I was like, I got up. And everybody was laughing. It was like, she got that from her mama, not her daddy's side of the family. So I made it
That's
so
awesome.
positive, because if I had taken what the doctor said, and he said it very rudely, he was like, have you looked on my chart? And I was like, yes. And he said, did you get your results and read over them? And I was like, it didn't show me anything. It said results have not been posted. And he said, well, you got cancer. And I was like, what? Yeah, you got cancer. Stage 2, almost stage 3. We're going to start you on chemo this week. Here's this book. I want you to read it, and I'm going to send my nurse in here to talk to you. If you got any questions, ask her. She'll ask me, and I'll get back with you. And I was like looking at my husband, and he looked at me, because honestly, I thought when I found the lump that it was scar tissue from where they had removed my port that had gotten infected.
Yeah.
This whole time I'm thinking they did the mammogram. They wanted to do another mammogram to get a more in-depth picture. Then they wanted to do a tissue sample, a biopsy. Then they wanted to do an ultrasound all in one day. And I'm thinking I'm just going in for a mammogram. And I'd never had one up until that point because I didn't feel any need to, and I didn't suspect that I needed to. So he comes in and tells me very briskly that I have cancer, almost stage 3, and I'm going to have to start chemo. Doesn't give me a choice. Doesn't ask me, do I want to think about it? Doesn't give me any options. Just says, well, you got cancer, stage 2, almost stage 3. Here, read this book. I'm going to send my nurse in. Blah, blah, blah. We're going to start chemo in 3 days.
That's some great bedside manner. Doc really is great bedside manner.
Right. And he's a renowned doctor in this town. Like, his dad was a doctor. His brother was a doctor. He's a doctor. His brother was my my middle school math teacher. Like, I knew the family. So for him to be that brisk with me, I was like, you piece of dirt. And then his nurse comes in. Lo and behold, she just finished chemo and started back work like 3 months prior. And so she was very nice to me. And I was like, he's saying I have to start chemo in 3 days. And she said, the type that you have, HER2 positive, it's metastatic, which means that it quickly spreads to bone, brains, liver, and lungs. And if we don't start chemo immediately, as big as this already is, it's going to spread quickly. She said, that's what he meant by you need to start chemo now. I said, but what if I don't want to do chemo? What if I just want to take the breast and be done with it? And she said, well, I mean, he's a man. He doesn't think about that. So.
Listen, that's very true, everybody. Not to cut her off, but that's very true. We don't think about these things. We really don't.
No. He didn't think about my feelings on the matter. He just thought, in medical terms, that it's cancer. Let's chemo, be done with it. What if it had spread somewhere else? And I didn't. I did go ahead and go through a mastectomy. I changed doctors, by the way.
Oh, I would have.
Yeah, like the second chemo treatment that I had, awful. My husband had ended up in kidney failure because he had a kidney stone that he'd let get out of hand. And he ended up in the ICU the day before I started my first chemo treatment. So I'm calling an ambulance to pick him up to take him to the hospital. They admit him to the ICU while I'm sitting at the office having my very first chemo treatment. He's sitting in an operating room having surgery on his kidney stone that the doctor said it was so big you could have made a diamond ring out of it, and it would have weighed about 5 pounds, 5 to 8 pounds. Damn. It was that big. So, and it wasn't passing. There was no way it was going to pass. So he had to have surgery to take it out. So he's in the hospital for 8 days. No, 11 days. He's in the hospital for 11 days. I drive myself to my first chemo treatment, come home, and the next day I'm just wiped. And I have to go back to the doctor the next day to have blood work done to make sure that my labs look all right. And so I get in the truck and drive myself. And I'm 5'1", and he has a big, souped up, manly, redneck, we live in the South truck. So
I live in Texas too. So yeah, I get that term a lot. I'm actually from the North originally. My wife is from the South. So she likes to make various comments about me being a Yankee and how I don't understand certain things. And if I make comments about things I've never heard of that happens to happen down here in the South, she looks at me like, really? That's how you know you're a Yankee.
Yep. Yeah, I dated a Yankee for a while. But I mean, he was from West Virginia, but he still was considered a Yankee. Actually married him and was married for 7 years, but we divorced. And he's the father of my oldest child that passed away. So I haven't talked to him in 14 years, but Brian was in the hospital, my husband. He was in the hospital in intensive care for 11 days. And I'm at home by myself. And I have a son with Asperger's that I'm homeschooling. And then my youngest daughter, who was in her, I think she had just turned 19. Yeah, I think she was 19. And so she's home, but she works and she goes to college. So my son was home at the time, and I'm homeschooling him. My husband's in the intensive care. I'm not allowed to go to the hospital because they're afraid that I'm immunocompromised because of the chemo, and they're afraid that he'll get sick or if I'll get sick, because I can transfer the chemo through touch, through saliva. If I sneeze, if I wipe my eye or something and I put my hand on him, the chemo can actually be transported from me to him. So I have to use a completely different bathroom. Thank God we have 3 in this house, than anyone else in the house for a week after I've done chemo, so that they can't get contaminated. So I go in and have chemo the first day. He's in surgery. I'm home the second day. I have to go back in for labs. Labs are stable. So I go back home, and I mean, I didn't eat a bite of food. I think I maybe drank. I had my son bring me a drink. My daughter would offer to bring me food home, but I just couldn't smell the food. Like, no, get it away from me. I can't stand it. Just sick. Crawled to the bathroom to be able to go to the bathroom because I couldn't stand up. It was awful. And then he wanted to do chemo every week to begin.
Oh, God.
So I'm like, getting like Saturday's coming around, Sunday's coming around, Tuesday I'm having chemo again. Sunday I start feeling better. Monday I feel well enough to get up off the couch and walk and fix me something to eat. Tuesday, guess what? Chemo.
Yeah.
So it starts all over again. So still on the TPN at this time because I'm losing weight because of the chemo. So deathly sick. And this is the point where I'm really serious with God. Like, get me out of this. Either heal me or take me home. I don't want to be here anymore. And evidently he had a reason for me to stick around because I finished chemo. I had to stop chemo. I didn't finish. I had to stop chemo in July because it was causing liver damage and my liver counts were like astronomical and it messed up my teeth. Like I was sitting 3 weeks ago and was drinking some sweet tea on the couch and a tooth just fell apart. And so I go to the dentist and they're like $45,000 to fix all of your teeth, top and bottom, crowns, partials, all this. And I'm looking at them like, I look like I got $45,000. Like, let me, hold on. I got it in my back pocket. Let me bend over, and I'm pulling it out and there's no way I have $45,000 to fix my teeth. Our daughters get married in November and we're paying for that right now. Like, so I just started praying and I was like, God, you know what? I don't have the money, but I'm willing to pay some money toward it. If you can just convince them to fix my teeth for me. So we go back the next week because the tooth crumbled and they had to put a filling in it. So she puts a temporary filling in it and she's like, until you make up your mind what you want to do, I'm just going to do a temporary filling. 8 days later, that temporary filling falls out. And I'm back at the dentist office and I just cried. I lost it. I was like, I have to have teeth to eat or else they're going to put me back on the TPN. I don't want to be on the TPN. Even dentures was like $15,000. I'm like,
yeah, dentures are expensive these days. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. So my husband and I are sitting at the desk on the way out to make our payment or whatever for our copay. And the lady looks at me and she says, hold on a second. Let me go talk to the doctor about something. And I was like, oh God, what is she going to add to it? Forget to add something on there and I need something else. Like,
right. Never good words. Let me go talk to the doctor. Never good words for anybody.
No. Do I need a nose job too? Is that it?
Right. Like, what else are you getting me ready for? Uh-oh, here we go.
So she comes back and she sits down and I'm just waiting, anticipating. She's typing stuff in and she goes, hang on a second. Just a second. I'm like, I don't have many more seconds to hang on. I'm fixing to blow my top. And I'm already like getting teary eyed and everything. And my husband's looking at me with that look that he gives me like, I got you, whatever. If I need to pick you up and carry you out of here, I got you. And he's had to do that several times. Just pick me up and carry me or tell me, calm down. I can't take you anywhere. Would you calm down? You're like a little pterodactyl trying to fight somebody with your little finger because he's 6 foot and I'm 5'1". So.
Okay. It makes sense.
Yeah. So he thinks
he's like, you're kind of like Scrappy Doo and he's Scooby Doo. I got you. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. He's like, what are your little self going to do? And I'm like, well, I know how to kick you in the balls and bring a knee down or two and bring you down to my size. So let's go, bro. I'm ready for this. But she looks at me and she says, okay, hang on one more minute. And I'm like, woman. And she goes back and she says something else to the doctor and she comes back and she says, Doc says we're going to do your whole mouth for free.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're going to do your whole mouth for free. We're going to start today and we're going to put in temporary crowns, which I have in temporary crowns.
That's right. Show them off, girls. Show those teeth off to everybody. Yes. Let them see those beautiful teeth.
Yes. Like
there you go.
This one is the one that was falling apart.
Yeah.
So it's much shorter than the others, but she's like, we're going to cover that up. Don't worry. We're going to put partials top and bottom on the teeth that you don't have back here that fell out from chemotherapy. We're going to permanently crown these, but we're going to do temporaries for now. Get your impressions, get them made, decide what color you want. I'm like, look, I don't want no crazy color. I'm not trying to be Hollywood bright out here. I'm just trying to look fit and tight and right. So regular pearly white's fine for me. I'm not picky. Go ahead and order them. Let's get these things in. So I go this Thursday and they're going to fit me for my permanent crowns and make sure that they fit correctly. And then we're going to decide on the color, which I've already said, just pearly white. I don't want Hollywood white. I'm not trying to shine. I don't want some gold teeth and there was some bling and whatever they call that grill thing. Whatever. Just make me look normal and a human.
Could you imagine having the gold teeth and everything? Like, hey guys, what's going on? And then you smile and it's like right there in the corner of your mouth.
Right there. I want a rose gold jewel right there to
Right.
or cancer, and I want to be like, when I smile, I want to be like, yeah, this is because I had cancer and this freaking tooth fell out, and I'm proud of it. No,
Right.
can't do it. I just want to be normal.
Well, that's awesome. Well, that's really cool though that they're going to take care of that for you. That's really great. So
that was a miracle straight from God.
Definitely was. I totally agree there. There's no other way to explain your story at this point. It's just nothing but less than an act of God. Like he had a plan. He knew what he had for you. And everything else. And you said your husband's name is Brian, right? And Brian, geez, man. Like I said, Brian, man, you're strong. So I hope you hear this message, Brian. I want to let you know that is amazing, man. For you to go through everything you've dealt with, all the other stuff she's dealing with, and your own stuff, man, that is truly amazing. Like there's no words for that alone, man. God bless you for sure, brother. Because like, damn. That had to be the craziest thing ever. On top of that, with the kids and everything else, and jeez Louise. So, before we wrap up, did you want to go ahead and tell everybody about your Facebook group? I know you have one that I had seen on your profile. You want to tell them a little bit about it really quick?
Yeah, I recently, so I have been trying to get my testimony out. So I really appreciate this opportunity to get.
Oh no, definitely, a pleasure's all mine.
I started about 3 weeks ago now, I think, off of my Facebook page. It's called Life a Lot Like Job, and it centers around my medical history. I offer to pray for people, offer you the opportunity to kind of give your story, or if you have any prayer requests, or if you're living life a lot like Job, where all this stuff is getting thrown at you and you're like, God, what did I do to deserve this? Like, what do I need to pray for specifically that I did so wrong? And then it's like God said to me, wait a minute. Long suffering is one of the fruits of the Spirit. And this is what you're going through now because I'm preparing you to be able to help other people who are long suffering. And so I want you to start this Facebook group, Life a Lot Like Job, because he didn't deserve this. You don't deserve this. I didn't deserve this. And I want to be able to give people a safe space to come. Any religion is welcome because I am of Jewish heritage, but I am a Christian. I don't do all the Hanukkah and things like that. I go to a Baptist church, but I have Jewish descendants. I've studied Judaism. I love to learn about new religions. It's just a safe space. It's called Life a Lot Like Job, where you can come. You can hear some of my testimony, which I've started giving, and I've only got to 2 parts. Part 3 is going to be about the adoption of our son who has Asperger's and the surgery that I had a month after we finalized the adoption with him. So he's basically seen me for 12, because we got him when he was 1 and he's 13 now. 12 years he's seen his mom go through 12 surgeries. That's been his life.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
As cool and as strong and as loving as he is, just mommy, what can I get you? But that's basically the only platform I have. I have my Facebook page, Brandi Michelle Luke, and then I have Life a Lot Like Job. If anyone wants to come on there and ask questions or ask for prayer or anything, that's how you can reach me.
Definitely. And I have my Facebook group, Pete versus Anxiety. If you want to join up there, you can. Feel free to post away in there about your stuff too. I got a bunch of people in there. I do have another lady in there, actually. Her son has Asperger's, and I'm trying to get it figured out. I'm going to have her come on and tell people what it's like to parent somebody with Asperger's. So maybe we'll have to have both of you come on, and you guys can share both your testimonies and let people know what it's like and everything like that. I feel we got another appearance coming out of you for that one, for sure.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole different ordeal right there.
Exactly, yeah. She told me that. I was like, listen, I said, I'm very curious to know what it's like to raise somebody, because she's told me some stories. And I asked her about it, and she said, "Yeah, definitely." So that's in the work on the future, everything else and stuff like that for sure. I'll have to get with her about that, and then I'll get with you and see if we can't get you both on at the same time, and we can share some stories, and y'all can tell them all about it. Because I just, the whole idea behind this thing is just so people understand there's different things we all deal with every day, different stuff people deal with, such as yourself, people out there trying to make a difference like you and I, and just, I'm just trying to create a safe space where people can talk about anything like mental health reasons and stuff like that, and share their stories with each other, and get support from other people from, different walks of life and all over the world and things like that. So, but
being sick and having an Asperger's child, whoa.
God, yeah. I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't even start to begin to believe what it was like. That had to be a lot on your mental state too, for all that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, we're going to wrap up this episode of Pete versus Anxiety. Brandi, once again, thank you so much for coming on. Like I said, that story was amazing. Like I said, the fact that what you've been through, and Brian's been there the whole time for you as well, and then the son with Asperger's on top of it all. Damn, you were truly somebody special. Like I said, God had a plan for you, and his plan is for you to share your story with everybody else, to let them know that you could be an inspiration to other people, that, even though life gets you down, you're not going to be kept down.
Right. Amen. Thank you. Definitely.
And guys, you know exactly where to find me always. I'm at Pete versus Anxiety at Pod, Pete versus Anxiety on YouTube, Twitch. And, you also follow me on Instagram if you're on there, Pete_versus_anxiety. And guys, that's going to wrap up this week of Pete versus Anxiety. Next week, we do have my special show at 3 p.m. Alive in Stone will be live with me to sit down and talk mental health. My next week's guest at 10 o'clock will be Steve Mack. And then we'll have Brandi come back for sure to talk to us about some Asperger's. And guys, like I always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. Your kind words, your kind act could save somebody's life. Until next time, guys, this is Pete signing off. Bye, guys.
Thanks. Bye.